Hi boys and girls, and welcome to part 3 of my buddy left me his B600 to get some free other carcass TOs for my own self-amusement to keep. So, albeit that's a very generous offer in my book. So the radio chassis, if you remember from the first 2 parts, it's done, it's playing, it's aligned, ready to go, okay? But we're still one step short here. He had said, just do the electronics, put everything back together and hand it to me and I'll be happy, but I'm not going to go there because I think what he did was it was just a very generous thing he did for me. So we're going to make this special, but to do that, I've got to take this ugly stab wrapped wooden box and make it pretty. So this is what I've got to start with. We've got some dirt here. Got a really ugly handle. I don't know how well that's coming through in the light. And we're going to do other things. We're going to clean up the inside of this. And we're even going to make the dial light functional. And you guys probably seen me do that before, so I'm not going to elaborate on that. Got a lot of work to do. Let's get started. So I'm just going to say in a nutshell what it is that we're going to need to do. What we're going to do is we're going to remove all the brass work, the transoceanic latch assembly up here. All this has got to come off. We're going to take the logs and chart store off, clean that up, okay? We're going to remove the brass that's for the handle here, and any other pieces, like for example, in here, there's a plastic housing that goes around the socket, so when you go to plug it in, you have the right angle plug, you can run the radio off batteries and things like that. And then of course, last but not least, we're going to make this dial light actually work with that switch, and some of you guys know my trick already. So after we get all this cleaned up, we're going to polish the case, but we got one lingering thing. Now I could try to recover the entire case, but this is the only piece that's actually worn through right here. And what we could, there's actually a trick that I'm going to try. I've never done it before. Oh, and actually there's a spot down here too as well. So we're going to kind of fix these. And then we're going to make this whole thing pretty. And then when the chassis goes in there, this thing's going to look good as well as play good. So let me get all this stuff apart. Now what I'm going to do is that I have here a little plastic container here that came from a local restaurant that my wife and I go to probably, well, we don't go there, we actually just get takeout there about once a month or so. And we'll put like things like little screws and hardware and stuff in here, and then this bigger plastic tray, and you could use a box or whatever you happen to have sitting around your house. And that'll be for like the bigger pieces, like the logs and charts door, and then maybe this handle. We're going to replace this handle. I'm not even going to try to fix it. I've got spare handles and other little pieces. So this is a good little tray to use to put all this stuff in. Okay, let's start by removing the carry handle along with these holders that hold the handle in place. Now inside the box, you can see these two, in this case they're using Phillips screws. Sometimes they're just flat standard screws. They're machine screwed into the 2 brass pieces that hold the handle on top. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove them, and then if you look around the edges of where the wave magnet would sit in, there's a bunch. In this case, most of the time they use brass screws on the 600 series. Okay, there's a couple brass screws that are just regular screws. Those are for the pins that hold the wave magnet down. You can leave those in, but we're going to remove all these. Let's see, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 brass screws that go around the side where the wave magnet literally sits on top of this piece. So we're going to take all this out. So when you get all that apart, this is about what you're going to be left with. So now let's move on to the logs and chart store. To remove the logs and chart store is pretty straightforward and simple. You can do this. You can lift the door down, and of course here you got the logs and charts booklet. If you have anything except the L600, so if you have a T600, Y600, A, big B600. The only thing is the L600, you see now I just flipped this little guy down here. This is like a little hinged, I can't do it with one hand because I'm holding the camera. Alright, so you'll have to take my word for it. You put it on top of this, and you see in the door there's like a little molded latch, and that's going to be up against it. Now if you're doing an L600, the L600 did not have the locking latch. So if it's missing, don't panic. The radio was just made like that. But all the other ones had that. So there you go. So now if you look here, let me get some better light on here so we can see, because everything is black. So there's a little bit of reflection there. I apologize, but it's for educational purposes. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws holding this on, including the screw here is going to hold that flip down latch, and like I said, L600, it's just another screw. So you got to remove those 6 screws. Okay, let me open this up so you can see what I've done here. All the screws, there were 6 screws. That was the lower one here on the right. I'm seeing the picture. That was the one that holds the hinge down, that holds this door open right here, where it shows the maps and charts and all that stuff. Now to get this out, once you have all those screws out, if you look back in the box for a second, you see that clip right there? That would be for the original owner's manual, schematic, and any other things that had come with the radio when it was brand new, or a place where you could put that all. But behind the door, there's 2 clips that look similar to that. I hope that's coming through okay in the picture. There's one actually up behind here and one behind here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this now. This is going to be a little tricky. I'm going to hold the camera down and simultaneously try to pull this apart, or maybe not. Okay. try to do this a little bit more cleverly. All right. So there's a clip here. So you could either do this with the door closed, or you could do this with the door open. Doesn't really matter. I'll open the door just for grins and giggles so you can see. Now sometimes this hasn't been off of this radio since the radio was brand new. So I actually got the one side up. The other side wants to come up, but it's kind of sort of hung on something here. So we want to be careful. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so now it's off. And look at that. Those are the 2 clips I was talking about. So for the sake of when we go to work on this thing or clean it up, we'll just take those 2 clips off and we'll just add it to our little pile of hardware that we have off the side that you can't see in the camera. Alright, now that we got that done, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to remove the plastic cover where the 90-degree right angle plug and spring-loaded cord come through this hole when you go to plug the radio in. So it's just 3 screws. I started to get ahead of myself and I took the first one out. Here I have it. I'll remove these 2 and then add that to the pile of hardware. Alright, by now your radio should start looking something like mine here. Well, it's not my radio, my friend's radio I should say. Last but not least, we have the latch that keeps the door secured. So we'll take the bottom one off first, since that's the easiest, and then we'll move ahead and I'll show you how to get to the top. Okay, I have the radio propped up on another plastic cup. And the bottom latch, I'm going to try to zoom this guy in here. Hopefully it's going to come on through all right. So you have those 2 Phillips screws holding the bottom latch on there. Just grab your Phillips screwdriver, or as they used to say in Japan, when I worked for a company and went to Japan, they'd say you have a plus screwdriver and a minus screwdriver. So take your plus screwdriver and remove those 2 screws, and then the bottom half of that latch will come out. Alright, once you have that bottom half of that latch off, take the 2 screws, hold that on there, and put these back on the bottom part of the latch. And what that'll do is, so you'll at least have the right screws right for when you put the radio back together. But what we're going to do is later on, we're going to polish this brass, all the brass pieces, and I think it would be easier just to to hold on to this thing while we're polishing it, to leave the screws in there. So just keep that in mind. Now for the top part of the latch, here's where it gets a little bit sketchy and tricky. Now, just like the bottom half of the latch, the top half of the latch has 2 Phillips screws. There's one approximately here and one here as well. But unfortunately, we can't get to it because obviously the black stag is covering that. The other unfortunate thing is that when the plastic logs and chart store is up here, it doesn't completely cover this. So we're going to have to somehow get the stag out of the way to get to these 2 screws. And to do that, what I do is this. I just take a sharp blade, like something like this. I don't like using a big X-Acto knife or everything because you have to have a kind of a feel for it. And what I do is, now once you start this, you penetrate with the blade, usually these things are dried up anyway, and this is actually, I got really lucky here. This is going right in. And it's very, very easy for me to pull the stag away from the board that it was originally glued onto. So what we want to do is kind of work this around. Oh, look at this. Man, did I get lucky here. That is unbelievable. Well, you know, my favorite line is sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. But sometimes you're going to have to take this thing and just work this a little at a time. Start from one side if you're right to left or left to right, whichever makes you happy. And you just go down maybe about a quarter of an inch at a time. You just keep going like this. You just keep going across. This is just amazing. Until you can somehow get enough of this stag pushed out of the way. God, did I get lucky here. Boy. So that you have enough area that you could actually very carefully pull this away and get your screwdriver to it. Now, I don't know how well that's coming through in the picture. Let me raise the camera a little bit. All right, maybe that'll let you see this a little better. I'm going to fold this down, and you should be able to see the 2 screws. There's one here, or my finger is here, and then there's one here. So now we could just take a Phillips screwdriver, take these 2 screws out, the front latch will come out, and then once we get this latch polished and re-lacquered, we'll put it back on here, and then we can glue the stag back in, and no damage, no problem. So here's the latch off the case. You can see this little tab here, that's the lock. So when you lift this up, the lock actually travels up. It's kind of, I don't know if that's coming through well on the picture there. Maybe you can see it better that way. See, now it's kind of up in there. And you move this on 90 degree, and it kind of comes down. And there's the 2 Phillips screws holding this thing on there. Okay, now with all that done and all that removed, it'll make life easier to clean the case. We're going to clean this case before we polish it. So let me get it over to the slop sink and start cleaning it.
It's all going to make sense eventually. And we're going to arrive at that point when all progress has been progressed.
Okay, here's the logs and chart store that we took off before. But one thing that I was going to do is I was going to take all the brass pieces off, strip them down, polish them, and re-lacquer them. Now, rather than bore you and show you every single solitary piece I had to do, I'm just going to take this Zenith crest off of the logs and chart store, and I'll show you just how I do the brass. On this particular piece, it's actually quite simple. All I'm going to do is carefully bend those fold over tabs that's holding this thing on there straight up, and basically the crest will come right out. I'm going to just reach in behind and use my index finger and just apply some pressure and try to push this through. And there's still a little bit holding that on. So, let me do this. There. Now you can see it a little better. I'm just going to take this because I need 3 hands. And there you go. It's out. See? There it is. Okay. This actually is pretty nice in just the way it is. But we're going to just polish it up anyway. Okay, what I'll do next is I'll get out my handy Q-tips. I have here a set of wire cutters. There's the tab, and also my 4-day-old Dremel. I had a Dremel about this size, similar to this. I think I got 22, 23 years out of it, and then I stripped the chuck, the plastic chuck. But, you know, it served me well, so I bought another one. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these guys, take a couple of them out, like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these and halfway down the stem, cut it in half, and then by hand put it in the chuck of the Dremel, and then I'll take some polish and polish that off. And basically the coating that's on there, the clear lacquer that's on there that Zenith applied, will come right off because it's only been on there for 65 years or so. So I don't anticipate it being very difficult. Okay, got pretty much everything ready to go. Oh, except I didn't. Well, we'll put the Q-tip in the chuck of the Dremel. Get that ready to go. I just put it in maybe about half an inch or so. Leave a little bit staying out. You don't want to put the cotton swab too close to the chuck because otherwise you're going to be, you know, if this hits the brass accidentally, you're going to be putting scratches in it. So we don't want to do that. Okay. So now I got that by hand. I will carefully plug in the Dremel. All right. And then over here, you can see to the left I have here Mother's Mag and aluminum polish. I'm not endorsing it, but this is what I've been using the polished brass for a long time. You can see I probably need another jar. I'll just take this guy, put some on the tip like so. And then what I'll do is I'll turn this thing on to the lowest possible speed. There we go. You don't want to have it going too quick. You get some polish here on the tip. And now I'll just hold on to this because this is a small part and it's going to have a tendency to want to go all over the place. So here we go. Rub it on there. And you can even see on the tip, you see how it's turning black already? That's a good sign. Now I could have probably have left this on the radio because it was actually pretty nice to start out with, but we're going to make it even nicer by doing this. Okay, so let the, you know, take your time, don't rush anything, let the Dremel and the swab take the work. Now you see these 3 prongs, these are very, very small. Carefully go over them. Matter of fact, what I'm doing here is, you can see I got my finger in behind each prong, so when I do that I won't bend the prong. I can go in between like this, very, very lightly. Again, let the Dremel do the work. Alright, and it's good. It's going to take probably about 5-10 minutes to get this thing 100%. You know, and then after I'll stop here for a second just to show you. So just to check your results, let me turn this off. Take this and now take I have here a Kim towel or a Scott towel. And I'll just rub this on here just to get the polish off. And then you can check your work and see, you know, well, did I get it all off, or is there still some spots I still have to do? All right, and then you can just take, well, I'm upside down here. Let me flip it over so you don't have to stand on your head. Okay, and it's already looking pretty good, but it could probably use a little bit more. All right, so you get the general idea, and you keep doing this until you feel that it's about as shiny as it's going to get. Then take it somewhere, wash it off with soap and water, let it dry, and then you can take this and all the other parts, all the brass pieces, and then spray some clear lacquer on it. Okay, now you remember that we had cleaned the case and tried to get most of the dirt off of here. But before we detail it and polish it and fix the couple holes and all that. I think this is a good opportunity to take the, and I have this on such an angle, I think that this is going to show quite well. But if you look to the center of your picture, you'll see that little clamp in there. And that was the original Zenith dial light. And it was meant to take an A battery, which I thought I used to have a couple over here, but I guess I threw them away. But it was a battery that actually sat in this clamp here. It was a 1.5 volt battery, and it used this prong to plug into the top of it. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove that clamp and just simply install a D battery holder. All right. And then we're going to take the original wiring here and wire it to the D battery. Now, we're going to remove that clamp, but before we do, I want to show you the D battery holder that I'll be using and what you'll need to do to that. It's going to require a modification, but I already have one that I modified so you can see for yourself. Now, here's just a cheapo plastic single D battery holder. And if you look closely here, I've drilled a hole, and it's not quite in the center of the holder itself. Now, that's with good reason, and that is because if you stole the battery, here, let me get here's a Horrible Freight alkaline battery here, okay? You put that battery in there, and if the screw was in the very center, when you go to put the battery into the battery holder, it's going to hit the bottom of the battery. So just so that it clears the head of the screw that's on here that we're going to reuse, I make this a little bit offset so that when the battery is installed, it's not going to happen. It's not going to hit the battery and do something stupid, okay? So it fits nice in the holder. So let me go and make the swap now. Okay, so I've performed all the surgery off camera. I disconnected this connector, wired it up to the socket there, and here's the dial light. All right, so let me reach up and see if it's going to light up. This probably hasn't been lit up since probably 1959, so let's see what it looks like. Ooh. Well, it doesn't look like much here because I have a bright light shining on it right now. But when that's in the radio, that should light up the dial real nice. So that'll help make this radio pop a little bit more. Okay, here's the logs and charts door off the B600. I've already removed the Zenith crest over here on top to get it polished and re-lacquered. And what I like to do is I like to take this whole thing apart and clean it really good and then polish it up and then put it all back together. Okay, to get this apart you need really just two tools. You need a 1/4 inch socketed nut driver and a pair of needle nose. So what I usually do is, first things first, the clips where it actually clips to the black portion or the back, I just undo on both sides. Now this side goes a little bit easier because you don't have that far to travel. This one, however, you gotta go a little bit of distance on here. You don't have to get this off right away. You could even just undo this one here, the easy one first, and then undo the nuts, and then we can just slide that off. Let's do that. These screws in. Okay. Alright, now what we can do is fold it down like this, and look, just like that it comes off. So this'll be on this side, this'll be on this side. You've got these two holders, you just take these two holders out, it doesn't matter, there's no really left or right. And then for these two guys, I usually just, I'll pull this guy out here, just so we can get the spring out. So this is the spring as I'm looking at it. That's the spring for the right side of this as I'm looking at it, and then this is the spring for the left side. You see how this wire is coming out? You just pull that guy straight out, And then you can take that spring out for the other side. And now everything is apart. Make life real easy. So all we do now is just take the two plastic parts, we'll clean and polish them up, and I'll wipe down this rod, and then we'll put this whole thing back together. Alright, so here's the logs and charts back on the radio. I put the hole down for the door here, and it came out pretty good. Just take this and flip this guy up, and it should just drop back just like that. Okay, so notice where I have the springs here, like on that side and that side, and that's the spring for the door here. So I let go of the door, and this goes back into place. So now, of course I put the crest back on it that I polished and relacquered, and now it looks pretty good. Ready to go. Okay, boys and girls, so here's the finished product. You can see the stag has been cleaned and buffed. That looks really nice. All the brass work, it's been cleaned and relacquered. Back it up so you can see how nice that came out. All the plastics have been polished. I even went as far as I got carried away. I even polished the pull down in the back. The back is all nice and tidy. The antenna does what it should. You pull the arrow down to the front, it popped up and it just hit the camera lens. So everything is good there. Cord reel, it's been lubed and adjusted. There we go. I hope everybody can see that a little bit better. Remember, we had a stiff tuning string. Now it's nice and smooth. And then, of course, the famous, if you're at night, you got the dial light switch functioning here. And of course, the radio plays really good now, so it should be good for another 50 or 60 years or so. So anyway, boys and girls, thank you for watching the channel. I appreciate everybody who watches. I really, really do. And if you liked what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And take care till next time. Bye.